I was very excited about being the CEO of T-Hub. It gave me an opportunity to build what we call as an innovation ecosystem in the state of Telangana. But when I was also asked if I could take on the additional responsibility of TSIC, it was very intriguing for me because I think we have a tremendous amount of innovation that's happening in various different places other than the metros. And these are people that are very close to the problem statements. If they are facing any issues on, let's say, the education side, on the healthcare side, sanitation, all of these things are being solved. It's not like they're always looking for somebody to come help them. Now we were ready to take a few of them and start institutionalizing them, really creating pathways for them to doing something much more than what they were doing in their villages or in their districts. So it was a very interesting opportunity, and I said I would definitely love to help in whatever way possible, and that's how this thing began. We have evolved, we have pivoted, we have come to a stage where we are having much larger impact than when we started out, primarily because, not just because of T-Hub alone, but the fact that there are close to about 40 50 incubators in the city of Hyderabad, and several others across the state of Telangana. So obviously there is the ecosystem that is beginning to evolve. So one thing it's important for us is not to compete with other incubators, be complementary to them as well. But when the startups have come to a stage where these incubators are ready to graduate them to the next level, that's where T-Hub wants to pick them up. Even though we still call them incubator programs, there's our later stage incubator programs. And then we pick them up, we work with them, we take them through what we call as an acceleration program, and thereafter to a scaling set of programs. So these are family of programs that we work with. We also do something that is very different from what you would associate an organization to do as well, which is demand generation for the startups. But what the startups really need is business, is revenue. I think customer funds are the best investments that they can get, and customer validation gives them the clarity to really go down this path and really build up and so on and so forth. So we spend a large amount of our resources in generating demand for these startups. So we do a lot of that kind of work with large corporations, government organizations, and so on and so forth. Last time we took a survey of the startups, we found that a third of those startups will actually fall by the wayside because lots of their markets have disappeared, or their customers themselves have disappeared. So it's not like they can continue to plod along when their demand for the products and their solutions are no longer there, or they've just plain run out of money. But what I also see that 20% of these startups are seeing some unprecedented demand, and some of them have either taken their products that they had back in February, March to actually scale much larger, or some of them have pivoted to some extent to really take advantage of them and really get there. And then there are the remaining 47% of them that are understanding how best to go about taking the situation in, what should they do, how do they manage cash, how do they build the right company culture to get through the pandemic, and so on and so forth. So we're helping them on all these different fronts, all the way from helping them operate differently to have different business models to having completely new go-to-market strategy. So we are spending a lot of time in working with these startups very, very closely, much more than before. the way the healthcare industry is going to evolve is going to be very different, and the way they are going to bring in technology, the way they're going to employ data is going to be much more, relevant for the kind of startups that are out there that can work with them. The other one, of course, is education. That's something that is transforming right in front of our eyes. The others, of course, are logistics. There's a lot of logistics boom that we are seeing as startups that are in that space. The startups that are in the data sciences, data technology, AI, ML, IoT. They're also getting a huge amount of boost in being able to make these things new solutions available across various industries. And of course, on the finance side, obviously with all these fintech possibilities that are emerging, digital payments, and to be making all these things happen, of course, you will have things like cyber security and various other technologies that also will come into play now to enable all these solutions to be deployed in a much more secure way. In terms of VCs and PE funds, the money is already there. So they are definitely waiting to deploy the money. So that's in terms of angel investments, that also continues to be active. So what we have done, is three things. One is we have started working on the next set of startups that are actually ready to raise angel investments, because there are lots of those startups that are beginning to get started on that particular journey. They took a little bit of a pause for a month or 2 months, but they are also seeing that there is this unprecedented demand that they are beginning to see, and they are able to articulate those demands very clearly to potential investors. So we are creating the next batch of T-Angel that is going to now start getting some new startups in that program. The second program that we have launched is what we call as a funding desk. Funding desk is where there is a lot of funds that are being set aside by different government agencies, both central and state, where there is grants that are available for various startups, certain innovators, and so on and so forth. So how do you really, first of all, find these places where these grants are available? Second is, how do we really apply for them in the right way? And lots of banks, especially under the MSME scheme, they're beginning to look at how to deploy some money to those MSMEs that are looking for working capital help or other short-term debt instruments that they can take advantage of. This is something that we are also working on, but we will be able to do a lot more in the early stages, and therefore having startups take advantage of these kinds of programs and really helping them get on this journey is very, very important.